If you spent a lifetime playing games, then you would have heard about something called the console wars. And it really was just a way of gamers picking sides. If you're someone on PlayStation, you always try to vouch for that platform. Say, no, PlayStation has better games than Xbox or Nintendo, and vice versa, you know? But the console wars, as silly of a gripe that it was a very real thing, the likes of PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo were spending hundreds of millions of dollars, developing games and marketing to help push and sell their consoles. This was always been the decades-long competition. But it seems that the console wars, or at least this era of it, is maybe coming to an end. It's kind of fizzling out, and something else is taking fold. What really is happening if there is no console wars to begin with? The outcome is surprisingly anticlimactic. After decades of intense competition between Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo, each vying for the dominance of the gaming hardware market, the landscape has kind of shifted this year, especially in 2025. Xbox, for example, once a fierce competitor, has all but exited the console war, technically, after the 2023 purchase of Activision Blizzard, and their shift in strategy has moved them towards becoming more of a publisher rather than focusing on hardware sales. That doesn't mean they don't release consoles. They do, but they don't sell enough to justify this, massive push to make it only console-centric, because they have also dabbled with the Game Pass live service subscription, and that has been another way of them diversifying and making sure that their games are not this exclusive club that only certain people can be a part of, but rather they started to focus on accessibility, making games more accessible, making their games and services more accessible across the board, and so for them, it didn't really matter if they sold more consoles than PlayStation. What mattered is that their games are selling and reaching out to multiple platforms at once. And another great example recently is that they came out with Forza Horizon 5, now coming out on the PlayStation. And this signals that Xbox is now prioritizing a multi-platform accessibility and its subscription service, the Game Pass, over exclusive console offerings. The company has made it very clear that it no longer sees itself as a contender in the traditional console battle, opting instead to focus on its extensive game catalog across platforms. It's all about the games. Have as many games as you can, have as many studios, and sell games no matter what platform it is. And I think it is certainly clever, and one that actually could put pressure on Sony as well. And then we have Nintendo, who has effectively opted out of the console war. They've always acted in a way where they're not even competing with the other two. This is a company that continues to release popular consoles like the Nintendo Switch, and now Nintendo Switch 2 coming out later this year. And it never really concerned itself with competing on technical specifications with Sony or Microsoft. They didn't care about having the most powerful console. They just cared about making fun games and really just doubling down on their most iconic franchises. Nintendo has kind of carved its own niche and focusing on its unique hybrid console approach and its main big titles like Zelda and Mario. And I think this is also another way of just, them just dominating and not needing to fight against the dominance of the console market. And what really is left, if Microsoft is now a publisher that has its own games and they don't mind putting it out on any platform, Nintendo not really competing for the best hardware, just focusing on making their best games on their platform. What's really left in the competition is Sony. This is really the last company still clinging to the old console war mentality. While Sony continues to secure exclusive games and develop cutting-edge hardware like the PS5 Pro, its efforts now feel somewhat hollow, as the competition has either moved on or changed directions. Sony's traditional approach to console wars, offering exclusive titles and pushing the boundaries of hardware specs, now seems increasingly irrelevant as gaming habits evolve. A lot of us don't just play on consoles now. We play on our handhelds, on our phones, on our PC, and I think it's now having maybe Sony to pivot their focus and be like, okay, I think we need to reach out to gamers across all the board, and not just have to make this exclusive hardware that where only our games exist there. I know it's still a thing, but even they had to concede and come out with PC releases for some of their PlayStation exclusives. But are they at the consistency and frequency as Xbox? And not really, because where Microsoft, whenever exclusive title comes out of them, it comes out day one on PC and consoles, and it even comes out for free on Game Pass if you're subscribed to it. Or PlayStation's like, it's only on PlayStation now, and then we'll wait a year or two, and then we'll port it into the PC. And then maybe, just maybe, at the same time, people can get access to it on another platform. We'll see. And so you have all of these competitors who have shifted away from the console war mentality, but Sony is really left without any true rival in the same way it once had. And so ultimately, Sony's fighting a war that maybe no longer exists. It may technically have won by default, but it's not really winning if there's no one to win against. I mean, in reality, competition has always been there, and now it's become a focal point of the gaming industry. But what has been replaced is something a little bit more fragmented, something a little bit more diverse, which is, a diverse gaming ecosystem with multiple platforms and a business model can coexist. And I think this is where Microsoft really is leaning much stronger into compared to Sony. And so, could this mean that this massive shift has marked an end of an era? Are we really done with the console wars? Was it as silly as it always has been? Maybe after 20 years of this, I think so too. I'm someone who used to pick sides. I used to always vouch for PlayStation. But for me now, it's all about, I want to play fun games. It doesn't matter what platform they're on, And I'm vouching for accessibility more than exclusivity. And that's, I think, where it really matters now. The console wars, is it really the end? Who knows? Could it stay forever? Maybe another competitor can jump in. Maybe it's too late. All hypothetical, and it's all really, there's no right or wrong answer. It's all pure observation at the end of the day. And that pretty much wraps it up, guys, for the Evening Buzz. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you guys on the next episode every Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, keeping you guys busy and entertained all throughout the weekend shift, only here on Pulse 95. This is Michael Tia signing out. Have a good one.